Hi guys, welcome back aboard good old Athena. We've spent a couple of days here on the River Fell. We're gonna get underway a little bit later. The goal for this week is to make it to the magical Isles of Scilly. Before we get underway and leave the River Fell, I would like to install these two ROKK Wireless Edge. These are wireless charging phone mounts. We tend to use our phones quite a bit out in the cockpit for listening to podcasts and audiobooks while on the way, but also for stuff like navionics. And these will make it a lot easier to charge our phones out there and also hold them securely in place. My name is Mess, this is my wife Ava. I've spent the last 5 years on a somewhat extensive refit of our 1987 Warrior 38 named Athena. That was a DIY fun-packed adventure complete with a very extensive osmosis treatment, building a new rudder using vacuum infusion, rebuilding the entire deck, gutting and subsequently rebuilding most of the interior, painting the top sides, and a ton of other projects. The summer of 2021 we started cruising full time. Now we're finally ready to begin our adventure. Along with the two wireless phone charging mounts, Scranstrut, the manufacturer of all of this, also sent us this tablet mount, an extra adhesive base for the tablet mount, and this waterproof USB outlet. I'm hoping I can mount our iPad somewhere near the helm to use it as a backup for our Garmin chart plotters. But I don't have a good waterproof case for our iPad yet. So if you have a recommendation for a good waterproof case for an iPad, please go ahead and leave a comment down below. Under this ROKK brand, Scranstrut offers a lot of different tablet mounts, bases to secure those tablet mounts, phone mounts, and wired and wireless charging. What is really cool about this ROKK mini series is that there is a bunch of different mounts. So you can get a screw down base, a rail base, oversized rail base. I think that's for diameter larger than 60 millimeters, something like that. Then there's the adhesive base, that's the one we've got, and also a suction cup base. These ROKK products are not new to the market. They've been there for quite a while and they have a great reputation. Before we left France, I had a chance to fit with some of them at a local chandlery. They had like a little display area and they feel rock solid. Also, my favorite marine electronics blog, panbo.com, they did a review of some of these way back in 2020, I think it was, and I'll include a link for that down in the description. I'll save the tablet mount until we have a good waterproof case for the iPad. That way we can include that in the video too. So for now, let's just focus on the two wireless phone charger holder thingies. As with any wireless charger, you're not going to be getting super fast charging. Wireless Qi charging is pretty slow. But fast charging is not really the point of this product. This will securely hold your phone in place, and while it does that, it'll also make sure that the phone is charged. So if you spend an entire day out on the water, when you get back, well, your phone is still gonna be charged. On the back of the box, there's a cool little image here so you can see if your phone fits. Now, I've got the iPhone 12 mini. That easily fits in between the minimum sizes here, and Ava's got the standard iPhone 12, which easily fits also. But something to be aware of with these wireless chargers is that you may not be able to use your favorite case while charging. The box mentions that the charger will charge through 3 millimeters of case, but we'll test both of these cases a little bit later in the video. Like I mentioned, this feels rock solid, and the Edge does offer a good amount of different various angles for holding your phone in. Installation is going to be super simple. It is 3 screws, 4 holes, 1 for the cable and 3 for the screws. As always, I am thrilled to see a mounting template included with the instructions. That just makes installation even easier. In terms of functionality, there is not a lot to say about this product. You just chuck your phone in there. There is an LED there that will tell you if the device is charging or not, so that's pretty handy. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this installed. The instructions are very clear. For the 3 screw holes, you're supposed to use a little bit of sealant, but for the cable, there is a rubber gasket-y sealy thing on there. That's this little guy right here, and it makes sense that Scranstrut came up with a solution like this because Scranstrut is also known for making cable seals. I've used quite a few of those here on the boat and they've been great so far. And just like that, we've got not just 1, but 2 spiffy phone holders here in the cockpit. Of course, right now they're not hooked up to power, so they're not charging yet. As with installing any kind of marine electronics, it's running the freaking cables that's the absolute worst, and it causes a giant mess on the boat. There was a bit of soldering in awkwardly tight quarters, and we had to remove a couple of sections of headliner to run the cables, but all of that is done now. Now we just need to flip the breaker and see if they work. Here on the side there's a red LED indicating that the unit is powered. To make this work, I'm just going to have to remove my little magnetic pump socket here, and then we just toss the phone in there and voila, it's charging. That is both indicated here on the display of the phone, and also the little LED on the side of the charger has turned green. Ava has a much thicker OtterBox case on her phone. We had to remove the pump socket here, but once that is removed, the phone will still charge. These two wireless phone holder chargey doodads are a very welcomed addition here aboard Athena, and I'm excited to see how they're gonna work out for us. Now, it is getting a little bit late in the day, and there's an anchorage about an hour and a half, 2 hours from here where we would like to spend the night, so we better get underway. The anchorage is right over there. It's a very calm day out here, but there is just enough wind to push us along at 4 knots. If you hear a humming in the background, that is not the engine, that is the water maker filling our tank. We're hoping to anchor in here, but apparently it is a popular spot, so I don't know if there will be room for us. We are very new to anchoring, and yeah, I just don't want to risk dragging and bumping into other boats, so if it looks too crowded, then we just will go somewhere else. It is a beautiful evening here at the anchorage. We were lucky, there was room for us. I mean, we're definitely the noobs here. We are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but the good news is we are not close to any other boats. So yeah, I think we'll sleep okay tonight. In there are all of the other boats, and then way out here is Athena. The amount of distance we've got here to the other boats is most definitely overkill, but like I said, we are new to anchoring, so we might as well just go slow and err on the side of caution. I've had this anchor alarm on for about 4 hours. As you can see, we have kind of swayed back and forth a little bit, but we have definitely not dragged. If we zoom in a little bit here on the very pointy end of the UK here, you can see that we are anchored up here right now. Tomorrow, the plan is to head all the way out here to the Isles of Scilly. That is a roughly 12-hour trip. The trip tomorrow should be pretty straightforward. There's a pointy thing down here called the lizard that we need to be a little bit careful about. But if we leave our anchorage around 8 in the morning, we should be at the lizard around slack. And then from there, it's a straight shot out to the Isles of Scilly. In terms of the weather forecast for tomorrow, it's looking good. The winds are going to be very light. And yeah, they're scheduled to pick up just about the time we arrive at the Isles of Scilly. But yeah, that's just typical. We have talked about staying on the Isles of Scilly for a few days because it's supposed to be amazing there, but Sunday looks like it is our last weather window to go to Ireland for the foreseeable future, meaning all of next week it's going to be very light winds and just, not great. But let's postpone that decision until tomorrow night. Let's just get to the Isles of Scilly first, and then we'll figure out how long we're going to stay there. The next morning, we raised anchor in preparation of getting underway. With Athena's pulpit and bow roller, removing the mantis chain claw hooky thingy can be a little bit challenging. Fortunately, Ava is so tiny that she fits in between the headstay and the pulpit. I'm sure this will get easier for us once we've done it a few more times. With the anchor safely back on the bow roller, including an assortment of mixed seaweeds, we left the anchorage, excited to have spent our first night at anchor aboard Athena.
We're just about to pass Lizard Point, and Mads and I were looking at the map the other day and we were like, why is it called Lizard Point? It doesn't look like a lizard. And that indeed is not why it's called Lizard Point. It actually, Lizard derives from Old Cornish, meaning either high point or high place or fortress, depending on the translation. But what's really cool is at the bottom of Lizard Point, there's a huge rock. It's called Serpentine Rock. And about 300 million years ago, it was actually kilometers beneath the ocean, and two continental plates collided, pushing it to the top, and now you can see it, and yeah, that is Serpentine Rock.
We made it to about the halfway point before the wind died down, and we had to motor sail to make sure we got in before it got dark. And also there is a traffic separation scheme just north of our route. I'd like to clear this area as fast as possible to not be in the way of any commercial shipping. After starting the engine, it was another 5 hours of just sitting around, listening to audiobooks and enjoying the view while the autopilot kept us on track. We've never been to the Isles of Scilly before, and I'm really glad we got in while it was still light. That just makes everything a lot easier. Now, our first choice of anchorage, Port Cressa I think it's called, was a little bit too crowded, so we went on to St. Mary's Pool. St. Mary's Pool is right behind me here. I think that's like the major town around here. Unfortunately, while we were trying to grab a mooring ball in there, our much beloved boat hook decided to break, so we had to abandon that attempt, and then we came here to anchor instead, just south of an island called Tresco. The very first thing I did this morning was to unfurl our two bottom solar panels there. With all 4 solar panels working, we have 1600 watts worth of solar. That might sound like a lot, but once you start cooking with electricity, well, the juice really starts to flow fast. This morning, Ava cooked us a delicious pancake and bacon brunch, so we used some energy for that. And I also run the water maker for half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. So we have used quite a bit of energy today, but it looks like we're clawing a lot of that back from the sun. Our Victron Energy Servo box logs all of our energy consumption and also all of our energy production. So tonight we can take a little bit of a look at the numbers to see how we did. For now, I think Ava and I are going to head into Tresco to see what that island is all about.
We are heading to the Tresco Abbey Gardens, which are on the island of Tresco, just right off of where we're anchored. We're going to pull up on the beach right here, and it is such a beautiful day. The sun's shining. The wind's a little nippy, but it's still beautiful. And the water here, they're not lying. The water is
very, very
so
clear. Because we're at low tide right now, we've had to drag the dinghy all the way up here. I think if we're gonna stay for a longer period of time anywhere where there's a high tidal range, then we're definitely gonna put wheels on the dinghy. Turns out dinghy is not the only way to get to the island. You can also go here by helicopter, right next to the beach. There is Dr. Bottomley, and way out there is Athena. Or shown on this handy dandy map of the entire island. Athena is right outside of the frame over here. We landed the dinghy there, and the gardens are here. The Abbey Garden has plants from all over the world, from California to South America, South Africa, the Mediterranean, Australia, and even New Zealand. Right at the entrance, we came across some furry friends. There were 2 highlights in the garden for me. One was Valhalla, which is this collection of figureheads from boats that have sunk here over the years. The details and the colors were amazing. The facial expressions ranged from stern to kinda smirky to naively happy. Top tip, if this ship had just shown a little bit more cleavage, it would have had a way better YouTube rating. Fortunately, Athena's figurehead is not yet permanently on display in Valhalla. My other highlight from the garden was the ferns. I've always had kind of a thing for ferns. Not in a weird way, they've just always been one of my favorite plants, ever since I was a small kid. Also, the boat here in the background looks pretty dang spiffy. The gardens were super beautiful, no doubt about that. But it does cost £18 to get in there. And you can walk the paths on the rest of the island for free, which is also super beautiful. As we peek out from behind our bush, we see the Ava in its natural habitat, yet again on the prowl. The prey of the day is one of the many honesty boxes.
So funny.
The poor honesty box seems almost paralyzed by fear as the mighty predator approaches.
Athena.
The Ava takes pity and continues the hunt before coming across yet another honesty box, this one with vegetables and seeds. Here, the hunt brutally ends. The pack shall not go hungry tonight. We could not have asked for better weather to come here, and we had a lovely day on Tresco. But speaking of the sun, let's see how we did in terms of power generation today. As you can see here, we've produced 8.9 kilowatt hours today. If I'd only bothered cleaning the solar panels this morning, I'm sure that would have gotten to 9. So this morning we spent 1 kilowatt hour on the breakfast. Then Ava ran her hair blower dryer thingy for a little bit, that's 0.3 kilowatt hours. Then I ran the water maker, that's 1 kilowatt hour. And then we have dinner here. Ava made a casserole, that was 0.3 or 1.3 kilowatt hours. And then we've been charging the battery for the electric outboard this evening. We're ending today on a state of charge of 71%. Now today was partly cloudy. You could see that also on the yellow bars in the graph here. If it is a perfectly sunny day, then it's a nice smooth graph, but ours was a little bit jagged, so that was because it was partly cloudy. Had it been a perfectly sunny day, I am sure we would have gotten to 100%. Tomorrow is also going to be a nice sunny day, and the good thing about tomorrow is that we have leftovers from dinner tonight. So tomorrow we're not going to be using a lot of energy on cooking because the leftovers will just require a little bit of nuking in the microwave. So tomorrow we could, for instance, do laundry without even running the genset. Looking at the weather forecast for the next 3 days, which is how long I think we're going to stay here in the Isles of Scilly, it doesn't look like we'll ever need to run the genset. We're going to be getting plenty of sun. But if we get 1 or 2 rainy days, it is swift and brutal punishment. Cooking with electricity and running both a fridge and a freezer and charging an electric outboard, it really takes its toll on your energy budget. So yeah, if we don't get sunny days, then we do need to run the genset. You might be tempted to suggest installing something like a wind turbine on Athena and get some juice from the wind. But I don't think that's really a viable option because it would be like trying to fill a bucket with a thimble. The amount of energy you get from wind turbines on boats, it's a tiny, tiny bit. I'll continue to accumulate production and consumption data, and then at some point in the future I think I'll make a dedicated video about this topic because I think it is pretty interesting. Like, how much energy can we get from the sun? How much energy do we spend on various activities? Can we plan those activities so that we minimize runtime on our genset? And was the switch from propane to electric in the galley worth it? But yeah, we'll get back to all of that in a dedicated video. In next week's video, I hope we'll finally be arriving in Ireland. Yeah. I think maybe on Wednesday we'll have a weather window. It's going to be very light winds, so some motoring will be involved. Of course. Yeah, but we will get to Ireland, and hopefully soon, because we want to make sure we've got some time in Ireland before we need to head back to France. So on that hopeful note, we'll end this week's video here and say we hope to see all you guys back here aboard Athena next week. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video,
please remember to leave a like.
See you!